In this video, I'll share with you a strategy that will help you determine whether there will be a breakout at the current level or, on the contrary, a bounce. It's a fairly simple and straightforward strategy that any beginner trader can really easily understand and effectively apply on their very own trading chart. So, get comfortable and let's try to make, say, a significant 20,000 bucks from an initial 15,000 in this detailed video with a manageable risk of about 10%. Look, for example, here we have the currency pair, British pound and US dollars. Right from here, we can open our trade for a breakout of this level. So, we'll be working with three scenarios. We'll trade on a breakout of the level, that's the first scenario. We'll also trade on a bounce from the level, when the price comes to it and we enter a trade from that level. And, accordingly, we'll trade in the direction toward the level. So, if the price is somewhere around here and we see a strong level here, then thanks to our MACD indicator, we can determine all three price points. Right now, this is actually a good trade for selling. Let me explain why. Look, the red line is currently dominating, and as a result, we see the histogram is below. So, these values tell us that the price is now likely to move confidently downward. That's why I'm opening a sell trade, especially since my entry point isn't right at the level, but a bit higher. Well, let's see how this situation plays out. So, honestly, it's a really great indicator for trading levels. The next question is, how do you mark a level? Look, if the price is moving, it stops once. That is, it gets touched, then moves further down, comes back again, gets touched again, and then a third touch. Then two touches are enough for us. That already counts as a level. And the third touch sometimes serves as confirmation, but sometimes, on the contrary, it can result in a breakout. But again, we'll be relying on the RSI indicator. So basically, the most important thing for us is two touches. When the price comes up and leaves two such peaks, that's it. Everything else after that will be considered the level. So, two touches at roughly the same price level. I hope that's clear, and now we can move on. By the way, now we can see that a price reversal has happened, and even the indicator is showing us this. Look, here's an interesting situation. What does the MACD indicator tell us? So, we can see that there were two levels. Let me even highlight them. We had one level below, and the second level was above. So, as we can see, there were several touches here. One touch, two touches, three touches, and then, accordingly, the fourth and fifth as well. There were also several touches from below. You can mark them on both sides. So, this is our level. Next, let's look at what's happening with the MACD. The histogram has dropped below zero, so the red line is on top. Accordingly, it's preferable to open trades for a decrease. Since I understand that the level is below us, I can open my trade in the direction of that level. Look, support and resistance levels. It doesn't really matter what you call them. They're simply price levels. They have the property of attracting the price and, at the same time, repelling it. So, it's kind of like a magnet. When the price gets there, it encounters resistance or, on the contrary, a supporting factor, and can't move further. So, we'll move actively toward the level, and then we might get stuck in this kind of sideways movement until we either get a new strong volume or, on the other hand, the volume from above pushes us down. That happens too. So, we have two forces, and our MACD indicator shows who is dominating right now. The second trade in profit was open toward the level. By the way, you can grab the settings for this indicator right now using the link in the description. All you need to do is go to our Telegram channel and get the MACD indicator settings from there. You'll also find even more ready-made strategies that can bring you a good profit. So, the link is in the description. Be sure to join and grab the ready-to-use tools that you can already make good money with. By the way, just take a look at the results from our guys who are trading with our free tools. Also, if you didn't know, we have a private community in the form of an elite channel, as well as copy trading. So if you're interested in more exclusive, private tools, just message our managers and they'll give you full access. But if you just want to get a ready-made tool, a ready-made indicator, then go ahead and click the link in the description right now, subscribe to our Telegram channel, and grab the settings for this indicator. Look, from here we can enter a buy position, because what's happening here? Our indicator has started to rise sharply. In other words, we can see that we've moved above zero. Plus, the green line is on top. Next, I look at where our levels were. I find several distinct touches and I fully realize that this is actually a very strong and significant level that we should absolutely break through right now, since we have both substantial volume and all the necessary indicator signals. So, let's take a closer look at this particular trade, you could say, in a somewhat fast-forwarded format, to understand the key aspects. As you can see, we really did encounter resistance. We couldn't break through this level. And it's a very frustrating, unpleasant trade. Actually, we closed this trade at a loss of 2 points, even though the potential was excellent. That's why I'll open the next trade for $2,500 to cover this loss. Look, but from here, the situation is the opposite. We can open a sell trade right from here. That is, we have good volume below, under the zero line. Moreover, we have a red line above, and quite a wide gap. This also has a positive effect on the safety of our trade. And basically, we have two levels. So, we had a level above, and we have a level below. So, if you see that the indicator is showing we're about to drop sharply, it's better to enter toward the lower level. This is just as an example. If the histogram were positioned above the current level right now, of course, I would immediately open a buy trade. A truly great and significant move is currently happening, and it's bringing me a substantial profit of $2,200. I want to open the next trade for $2,000. Another very important point. When you see some confusing currency pairs, meaning you can't immediately tell where the level is, just skip those pairs. They should have a clear upward or downward movement. It's safe to trade on such currency pairs. By the way, here's a pretty good example. We can roughly place our level here and move the second level down. That will also be a valid level. We see that we are above the histogram, but here, the line is not very confident. So, when you observe the two distinct lines on the MACD constantly crossing over each other, and this particular kind of situation frequently happens, it's generally better to completely skip it as well. The line should ideally be diverging significantly like this. That's precisely when these will be considered safe and reliable trades. Right from here, we can open a trade on the breakout of our level. So, first of all, we can really see a level here, mainly because of these candles. That's actually a good indicator. Plus, we had a touch here as well. So, at least 2 touches are enough for me to determine that this is a level. Next, let's look at the MACD indicator. The histogram is rising, and it's above 0. And accordingly, the significant green line is also clearly on top. So, this should be a very pretty safe and secure trade on the definitive breakout of the crucial level. As you can see, the price breaks through this level and brings me $840. Yeah, the payout here was small, so let's open another trade using this strategy. On the Euro-Canadian dollar, I'm opening another trade on the breakout of the level. Here's another important point. If you don't know how to mark the level, whether to draw the line here or, for example, higher, look at where you had the most touches. So, there was a touch here, then more touches here, and accordingly, I see there were touches here as well. So, you can even move this level roughly like this. Then it will really be a good one. It's the same thing on the bottom. If you don't know where to mark it, whether your line should be here or, for example, somewhere lower, just look at where there were more touches. That will be your main level. So, based on these candles, I determined that this is really a strong level for us. Plus, on the MACD, we can see that the histogram is above, and the green line is also above. We can safely open a breakout trade. By the way, just take a look at the stats for this strategy. Yeah, there was one unpleasant loss, but everything else was profitable. And even with that one loss, I made $5,000, or in other words, that's a 25% gain on my deposit. In just a few trades, if I'm not mistaken, in 5 trades. Once again, let me remind you that you can get the settings for this indicator right now using the link in the description. Just follow the link and grab them in our Telegram channel. If you want to copy our signals and, accordingly, earn just like we do, then message our support account saying that you want to start copying our signals. In short, I'll leave all the useful links in the description. As you can see, there's nothing difficult about this. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the support account. The team there will help you out and answer all your questions. With that, I'll say goodbye for now. Wishing you a great day, lots of profit, and I'll see you in the next videos.